think we're live now. So I just wanted to say welcome back. So to this episode is another episode of Inspiring Figures, a monthly blog column that I write on my blog Pauline.com on the most inspiring and motivating people in my life and who I've met or like watch all the time online and follow on like Instagram. So yeah, I'm really excited today because I get to talk to Tara, and I've been like following her for a couple of months now, and I've just loved all of her posts, all of her stories. It really motivates me on my own like development sort of work that I do. So before that, I wanted to remind you all that last month I spoke to Maria Kritikos, who is founder of Ladies Who Lunch Network, and she was incredible. I had such a lovely time chatting with her. So definitely read up on the post that I wrote of like a write-up of our chat. I also have a YouTube video up, and a SoundCloud audio sort of podcast thing I did. I'm not sure how popular that is. I'm still testing that out because I like listening back to myself anyway when I'm like, I like sort of listen back and I'm like, okay, did that go well? Could I have done that better? But yeah, so it's out there. So I'm going to do the same today with Tara. And we'll go from there. So, I was just telling Tara, we were just DMing each other. I'm actually really nervous. I'm always really nervous before a live. I recently did one at work this week, and I did it in front of like 3,000 employees. I was like, oh, I'm so stressed because I'm such a newbie. I'm still a newbie, so we'll see how this goes. So yeah, I'm going to invite Tara now. Last time it didn't work with Maria straight away, so fingers crossed this works. Okay.
Hope you can hear me. Okay, I'm just going to invite her. Hopefully that works. I always have the same reaction.
Oh no, I can't hear you. Hold on. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's okay.
Okay, let's see. Why can't I hear anything?
You can't hear me?
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. It turned down the volume as soon as I accepted.
That's fine. That's excitement.
All right. Let's see if I can turn it up. I'm so new to this. I honestly, like, do I even work in technology? Who knows what I'm doing with myself right now?
No, okay. Trust me. I've done this like 3 times. 4, including this time I did at work. And I was just like the whole time like tripping over my words and saying, yeah. I meant this. And I tried to like make a joke out of it, and like since no one was like in the crowd or anything, they were just typing their questions. I was like, yeah. I don't know if that was funny. Was that funny? I don't know. you know what I mean? So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited.
I'm so happy that you're here because I know like I said earlier, I've loved all of your posts, and I've just been really motivated again myself because
give me just a second so I can get my air just started. So give me just a second.
That's fine. Okay, so if you've just joined, I'll just tell you guys. So this is Inspiring Figures. It's a monthly column on my blog Pauline.com, where I interview and talk to the most inspiring and motivating people. And there's Tara in the background. That is so cool. I've never done this before. I've never had someone walk around in my thing. So,
okay, here we go.
Here. We're back.
I'm gonna put on some headphones.
That's probably the best. I always have my AirPods in because like my speakers on my phone is awesome.
There we go.
It all works.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yay.
Okay. So so like I was saying, I've been following Tara for a few months now, and I've loved all of her dev posts. It's like honestly motivated me to like code. Like I know you don't code like outside of work often, but you know, it just motivates me to like look at more dev work in my spare time, because my full-time job right now is not in dev, it's in comms. So not in dev yet, because I recently got a dev job.
Yay!
So woo! So yeah. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and tell us like where you're chatting from today.
Yeah. Let me take these off. I feel like so weird with this. Okay, here we go.
No, it's fine.
Much
You
better.
look amazing.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I am chatting from my home office, aka my living room / kitchen in St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States.
Amazing. Well, I am talking from Sheffield in the UK, and it's 4 p.m. right now. What time is it over there?
It is 10 a.m.
It's 10 a.m. Wow, it's crazy. I still don't know. I just like get so confused with like time zone. It's just it just like amazes me. It's amazing. The world is amazing.
I know. It's like magic for me, the time zones. Like I still can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, crazy. So during the show today, I call it show, it sounds really fancy, but during the show today, if anyone has any questions for Tara, we do like a little question thing at the end. So just like type in your questions in the comment section below, the little comment section on Instagram. But yeah, so I wanted to just get straight to it then.
Okay.
You are a full stack developer, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. You are correct.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Like, honestly, every time I meet a full stack dev, I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me everything you know. You are amazing. So could you just tell people who aren't really like, who don't really know like what's full stack developer, could you just quickly like explain what that is and like what you do and everything?
Yeah, so a full stack developer is usually someone in the web development space, because that tends to be where there's kind of a clear distinction between front end, which is usually the client and what people are interacting with, and then the back end where all of the data is. So I do both of those things for my job, and it's just, I don't know, I work in a JavaScript stack. So I use Node, and then I use TypeScript and Angular. So Node is for the back end, and then Angular is for the front end.
Wow. Every single time I'm just like, wow, how do people do that? It's so clever, it's amazing. So like, I'm always really interested in like people who are in tech, especially devs, especially for full stack devs. So I wanted to sort of like go back a bit and talk about your career journey into technology, because it's not always like straightforward. And I just wanted to say, most of the people watching me and who follow me are either just graduated or about to graduate like in a year or so, and people are always talking about careers, and I think that's what I've been talking about recently, like all the time, just careers and just thinking about the next steps, because like the whole, you know, working life from university is completely different. It's different world. It's a different world. So yeah, could you tell us like your career journey? I'm always interested in where people come from.
Yeah, let's throw it back to like the college days.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I applied to one school for university, got into that one school, which it was called Purdue University. It's predominantly an engineering school, and that was the major I had chosen was civil engineering. So I did that for 3 years and then was not happy. So I switched majors to English, actually, into creative writing. And when that happened, there was some chaos, let me tell you. A lot of people, just had a few opinions that they wanted to share. They wanted to talk to me, like, did I think this was a good investment for my career, especially with, like, the starting salary kind of gap between those two jobs. But for me, it was ultimately the right choice, because after engineering kind of just didn't work for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to move to St. Louis, which is where I am now, but I didn't know, like, professionally what I was aiming for. So after I graduated, I actually ended up getting a contract position with a company that I interned with while in school, just doing social media and SEO kind of work. So I did that for 3 to 4 months. And then I was like, I kind of want some money. I kind of want some healthcare benefits.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've been there already. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it was low because my bank account had hit 0, which was the first time it had ever done that. And I was fortunate enough to be staying with a family member, so I didn't have to like worry about rent or anything. But I was just kind of like, some benefits and a paycheck would be nice. So I started looking for jobs and found a really great full-time job doing support for a tech company, which is where things really just kind of started for me.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of like support did you do?
I did. So it was for a company that helps media companies, so like newspapers and television, just basically engage with their audiences. So we had software that helped them do that. And so I would do a lot of like email support and just like phone support for the people at like the television stations or the newspapers to help them get the software working and any questions they had.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So you went like from English, doing a bit of social media, and then going to text. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. I've heard a lot of different stories like of getting into tech, and like that's a new one. That's the new one for me. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So after that, what did you just sort of like start learning how to code, or sort of what happens like about like learning?
Yeah. So it was a very long. It was a couple year like journey that I had. But so I originally started doing support and I loved it. I had such a good time. And it just so happened that a lot of the friends that I made were at this company were developers. And so part of being my job in support was also we got to do some QA stuff as well. So working directly with developers when you're testing the software and identifying bugs and things like that. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I spent a little bit of time, learning some HTML and CSS. And then just kind of got more and more familiar with that during my time at that company. But I didn't actually end up starting to code until, sorry if you just heard that. That was my dog. He coughed. But what ended up happening, I was at that company for like a year and 9 months. I left because I wanted to do more. So I was looking for some new challenges. And it wasn't until about 6 or so months after I left that position that I actually started learning to code because I was unemployed because I had left that job. And so I just was fortunate enough to like have the means. Oh boy, the lighting is strange. There we go.
There you go.
But I was just fortunate enough to like have the time and the money to be able to be unemployed while learning to code. And that was about a year ago that I started that journey. And then 6 months into that, I got my job that I have now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. Wow, amazing. So you've mentioned that, well, I saw on your Instagram bio and some of your an hour ago I was going through all your posts reading all of the captions. I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm reminded why I wanted to talk to her today. So like you mentioned that in some of your captions and just your Instagram, you've said that you work at a startup. And like, I don't know exactly, when you started tech support, was that like more of a bigger business or was that also a smaller company? So my main question is just, what is the difference between like what, from your experience, if you've had any working in like a startup and a business, like a bigger company? So I'm always really interested because I've personally, when I was looking for jobs, I was actually starting to look at startups and I was a bit like, I don't know if I want to join a big company or go into the startup scene. So and I ended up going to a bigger company, so we'll just I don't know if I'll ever do that, but I just wanted to see like and understand that.
So the company that I worked support for was a bigger, more established company. They had people in the office and they also had remote workers. And so I knew after that experience that I did want to work in startups just because it was something I'd always been intrigued by. And I really wanted to get in kind of like on the ground floor and like see a company like grow and build. And I wanted to be part of that. So I guess like the biggest difference for me personally is, I don't want to call it the chaos, but because with a bigger company, they kind of, have like an established plan, like they're going to do these certain things in this particular order. And that can be true for startups, but oftentimes it's not true for a large startup. So there's a lot of unknowns being in a startup. Like I know day to day kind of what I'm doing, but in terms of the big overall picture, like that's still being defined. Whereas the company I worked for previously, they've been doing that for years. They already knew what they were doing. They knew the big picture. Whereas the company I work for now, they have ideas of things they would like to do, but there's not like this clear kind of well-defined picture yet.
Oh, I see. I see. And did you enjoy that a lot more? Like not having that sort of certainty, but yeah, what are your thoughts with that?
That's a good question, because there are parts of it that I enjoy and parts of it that I don't.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because I think being in a startup requires you to be very flexible, and that can be a good thing, but it can also lead to situations where maybe you're not fully able to go as far on a particular project as you would like to, which is something that I have personally run into. It's just, I consider it like a growing pain where,
Oh, I see.
priorities
Yeah.
can change, and sometimes you have to adapt to those priorities, even if you're already, invested in a project that you're working on. Sometimes you have to switch, and that just comes with the territory of being in a startup.
Yeah, and I guess like that it just depends on the person, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
like what they like. I know some people are just very like, I want this structure, I like this process, I like it all planned out so I
Yeah.
can just sort of act it,
Mhm.
Yeah, but startups do sound a bit more flexible. So yeah, I guess it just depends on the person. But yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier the programming languages and the stack that you used. What has been your favorite language to learn? And are you learning anything at the moment?
Yes. So my favorite language is JavaScript. Right now I actually work in TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript. So it's basically statically strongly typed, kind of more similar to Java and C Sharp. But I love JavaScript. I love that it's dynamic. I love that you can just kind of break the rules with JavaScript. So that's something that I enjoy. And right now I'm actually learning Swift. So for
Wow,
iOS,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. And what would I see, like I was reading through all of your captions, like I said, and I was like, wow, you really put in time to learn, and I really admire that because
Thank you.
I think that is like an important thing to do, in to commit to in when you want to learn a new language, and like I think my main question was, what is your like main advice in learning? Because I know it's so difficult. I've had that
Yeah.
myself because I wanted to start learning JavaScript from the bottom, from the bottom up, if that makes sense, because I knew bits of it, but then when I was faced with the problem, I was like, I don't really understand it. So I started
Yeah.
reading. I started reading this book. It's called You Think You Know JavaScript or You Don't Know
Oh.
JavaScript. It's a yellow.
Oh,
It's
I
a
know what you're
yellow
talking
book.
about.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that went back to the fundamentals, and that really really helped me just understand it fully. So yeah, I think it just what I always love asking devs is like, what's your main advice for learning?
My main advice is to be as consistent as possible, because kind of like what you were just talking about, like you'll feel like you know bits and pieces, but it's very easy to kind of miss how they connect. And I think like just consistently learning, consistently setting across time to do that is really helpful, just because if you're only doing it, maybe like once a week, there's a lot of time for you to lose that information that you learned last week. That's something that I personally have dealt with. For the past 2-ish or so months, I actually hadn't written a line of JavaScript, and I had kind of forgotten all of the, different tricks and things that I had known just 2 months ago when consistently writing JavaScript. So when I got back to work after I went on like a little vacation. So when I got back to work and was actually getting back to writing JavaScript, I was like, I don't remember anything like at all. It took me so long. Things that I used to be able to do in like a minute took me 10 minutes to finally figure out. And I finally kind of had that little bit of a breakthrough yesterday, which was great. But it was also a little bit of a pain point for me because I had just gone so long without working with the language.
Yeah, I think I come from a biomedical science degree, so I'm gonna just tell you some science.
Ooh, yay!
I like to do that. And I think that's something I always explain this to, because I used to teach students at at my university how to code their first websites, and they were complete beginners. So when my advice, when I gave some advice sometimes, I was like, you need to keep practicing because it fires the same neurons in your brain. And I could I could like draw out a scientific diagram of neural connections, but I'm not going to do that. But but basically, the more you practice, the more your neurons fire like action potential. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I've graduated a month ago and I don't remember. But yeah, so it fires like action potentials to these synapses, and that just helps you remember things. And they're supposed to be very like flexible, but if you don't learn much, or you stop learning something, or you stop doing something, they become a bit more rigid. So that's why I tried to explain really badly, but yeah, that's sort of like the idea.
I get it. That makes complete sense.
Yeah. So it is just about practicing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, amazing. And my next question is, what has been the best thing you've made, and something you're proud about, like project so far?
Yeah. Does it have to be like in terms of something I've built with code?
Oh, it doesn't have to be. Like, I love code. I like that. We need more developers like you, because I feel like a lot of developers I talk to are just like, oh yeah, I like code throughout the day, throughout the clock, and all my projects are about dev. That's so great. Yes, please tell me, Tara.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, the thing that I'm proudest of is my Instagram. That probably sounds so cheesy, but it's the truth. Like, I genuinely love like being a developer here on Instagram and getting to talk to people like you. Like, when you invited me to do this, I had like a little fangirl moment. Like, I was just kind of like this, and it's just, I think that's so great, because when I was kind of getting into development, I had almost internalized this like kind of stereotype of developers of like being by themselves, not connecting with other people. And then Instagram, it just completely like blew that out of the water, like blew up that stereotype in my mind. So like being able to like be on Instagram and connect with like a community of people, and it doesn't even have to be developers, but like that is genuinely one of the things like I'm proudest of, because it's also very unlike myself. I'm an introvert. I spend a lot of time just by myself with my dog. And I enjoy that, but it's also nice to talk to other people. And so I'm really proud of myself for like getting out of my shell in that aspect and creating like this space for myself on Instagram and connecting with other people.
That's like, I'm getting like emotional. No, because I really like connect with that, because I was the same. I never knew that there was like a dev community at all. When I was growing up, I learned how to code by myself, and I always thought that it's just a thing I like to do by myself, and it's something that is just destined for you to do alone. And then I went to university, and I met like I created and built up a community of like other female students who were interested in dev. And then I went on Twitter and started following more devs in the industry. And then I recently found the Instagram dev community, and it's like, literally, it blows my mind. It does make me feel like less alone, and it is great for learning and everything, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. Especially because like so St. Louis has like a decent sized developer community, but a lot of the developers here have been doing it for years, which I have not. And a lot of them are men. So all of my coworkers are men, and there's nothing wrong with men, but it's also really great to like see other women doing this and then like kicking butt while doing it, which is something that I think you're doing. So like that motivates me and inspires me to work harder.
Thank you so much. I think like it's honestly like it's just really nice. It's sort of like a positive roll-on effect. It just snowball effect. That's what I was gonna say. Like it just keeps going. It's wonderful. It definitely is. And you actually touched on the next topic I want to talk about, which is women in tech. So everyone loves talking about women in tech. So I've seen you shout out about it on your Instagram like all the time. I shout out about it on my stuff, and it's just like, sister, we're supposed to have this conversation. This conversation's supposed to happen. So I wanted to just find out sort of what you've been doing in the women in tech community, and if like how has it impacted you, and
there's a lot that goes into
Yeah,
that.
there is a lot. That is a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'll start with like how it's impacted me. So like I just kind of like mentioned, like it inspires me and motivates me to work harder. And it's just kind of like, I think it's like fundamental kind of to who I am, just like creating spaces for women. And I just like, I can't imagine being a developer and not consistently advocating and including women in the things that I'm doing. At work, there's a limited spectrum of kind of what I can do, but on Instagram, it's basically limitless. I can do so many things, which is why I'm constantly like, it sounds so weird, but like in the DMs of like other women and Instagram, just because I just love connecting with them and talking with them. And because people like Fuck You and like Programmer have had such like a positive effect on me as a person that like it would be so cool if I could do that for somebody else. So that's kind of like how it's impacted me. Things that I'm doing in that space right now. I'm part of a lot of different groups. Like I'm part of Tech Ladies, and we have a meetup coming up this coming week. So I'm really active in that. And I'm not a big user of like Facebook, but I'm active in that group on Facebook a lot. I also am kind of like working on some YouTube videos for women in tech and things like that. I'm in talks right now of doing a takeover on someone's channel. I can't give specifics yet because I don't know 100% if it's going to happen, but I'm in talks to do that.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, and then I'm also, little shout out to myself, starting my own company with a focus on women. So yes, there's a lot of things that are happening that I just kind of am working on behind the scenes, because I don't want to like build it up and then like disappoint people or like disappoint myself. But those are things that are in the works. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really good, because like it is every single time I talk to anyone who's interested in women in tech and improving just diversity in general in any industry, I literally just sit there like, oh, I'm so glad I'm having this conversation with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all of your efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's just it is needed here.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And what do you think can be done like as a whole? This is again a big question. I ask loads of big questions, but like what do you think could be done as a whole, that anyone could like get involved in and do to help with the women in tech problem?
Mm-hmm. I think there are really just like kind of like small changes that can be made. So like there have been, a lot of kind of like studies done about how women tend to use words like we accomplished this or we did this, even if it's just them who did it themselves. So I think, it's really helpful for allies, whether that be like other women, especially women who are higher up in a company, or just like your male men peers or anyone who has a tendency to be vocal, to kind of have them put the spotlight on you for a moment. It's not like you need to ask them, like you could of course ask them, but it would be nice, if people would take that initiative to highlight the accomplishments of other people. Like that can go such a long way, It's such a good experience and like feeling when someone tells you you did something well. So if someone else were to kind of highlight you and like bring you to the forefront, like that can do so much for people.
I definitely agree with that. I think like one of the thankfully in my own experience, I've had so many amazing female mentors who have like honestly in the past year have given me opportunities in the tech space that I wouldn't have done by myself. So definitely like everything you said, just opening up these opportunities and shouting out about like everything you just said that is just spot on. Definitely. I think we just need to do more of that. And
yes.
Can you just imagine if everyone just did like a bit of it? Everyone around the world, it would just be like, wow.
I know. It was Who was it? It was it Coding Blonde? Yeah, she I think mentioned a podcast she had listened to that where the guest was like Natalie Frank. And I guess on that podcast she talked about kind of shifting her mindset from scarcity to abundance. So that's kind of like I feel like where that comes in, because it's like there's so much success that can be had. Everyone can be successful. It's not you succeed and someone else has to fail. Everyone can be successful. So if everyone just like takes 5 seconds out of their day to highlight or like shed praise and compliments on someone, like that does so much. And it kind of like, it's like a rising tide, you know, rising tide lift all boats. Like, so let's have a rising tide. Let's lift all the boats.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I need to listen to that podcast. I need to just, wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
I listened to it while I was in Europe on vacation, so I will send it to you.
Oh, please do. Please
Yes, I
do.
will.
That's like the best quote I've heard. Like, because I think one of the things I've unfortunately like experienced in a couple of tech events, especially women tech events, they've some people I've spoken to are on the opposite side of that. So they're very like, I have these opportunities and I brought myself here. So
Yeah.
I don't want you to have some of this because if I give it to you, I will lose it. So that's exactly the opposite of what you've said. And unfortunately, I've gone to some of those events and where that message is like conveyed, and I just sat there like, no, that's awful. That's not what you're supposed to do. Exactly.
Yeah.
The more we share, the more we have more of an open mind and share resources, share everything. That's how we just progress. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. Next question. This is going to be my last question, and then we'll go through all of the comments because I've seen a lot of comments like going through. Like I've just been like I'm just trying to listen to you and like read the comments. I'm like, oh, so much at once. So imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Oh, the word.
Yes.
So this is something I've been talking to a lot of my friends about this week because I've had immense imposter syndrome this week just because I recently got like an offer for a dev job, and then I started thinking because I had two different offers. I had an offer to stay in my current comms role or like start a whole dev job, and my comms role is very comfortable, but I wanted to challenge myself and go into dev. And but then I started thinking I've had these moments where I've just sat in my room with my ice cream like, I don't think I made the right decision. I was just like, no, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Why did I do this to myself? And it's just imposter syndrome because I know I can do it. I mean, they picked me out of like the people they interviewed because I was okay, but I mean I was okay. I was good enough. So yeah, like my main question is, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? And
That's excellent question. Still looking for answers on it. I guess kind of like anything else, I think you learn with experience. So I think the more you experience, I'm not sure about that because I think it's different for everyone. But like for me personally, every time I've experienced it, it has somehow gotten better. Like when I was first learning to code, it would derail me for days. Like I would just stop what I was doing for days. But now it'll derail me for like 20 minutes, which is still a significant amount of time, but it's way less than a couple days.
Yeah.
So I think, imposter syndrome is just kind of one of those things that unfortunately I feel like a lot of people just kind of have to work through on their own. And I wish I could offer more advice on that. I guess the one thing that I would say is like, especially in like situations like yours, like someone else like kind of has validated you by offering you this job. Like there's a reason you had that job offer. There's a reason you have these opportunities. There's a reason why people are picking you. So I think that can help. It's one of the few times that I think external validation can be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Like personally, what I've done for imposter syndrome is I have this you can search it up on Twitter. It's really funny. I don't know. Whenever I talk about it, I giggle because it makes me feel really good. So what I did was I created the Twitter moment with all of the nice things anyone has ever said to me about dev or about like my talks. And I read, honestly, sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm just there on my phone like, I just feel so awful and I can't do this. And I take my phone out and I'm like, reading through all the tweets, all the nice tweets that people have said to me, and I'm like, actually, I'm awesome. Yeah. And then I have this like Beyonce movement, and like this moment, like, yeah, I can do this. It is just one of those, isn't it? And like you said, it's just you just sort of have to deal with it with experience, and it's just one of those things. But we can get through it. We can.
Yes, Yes, absolutely. I like that
Yeah.
you mentioned that, because when I was working in support, like support, I feel like are kind of the unsung heroes of like any kind of like software company. Because you know, it's not necessarily like the most technical skilled work. So a lot of people don't really prioritize or lift up support workers. And sometimes like working in support, you can have really great interactions. And then you can also have not really great interactions that can make you feel down. So I would actually keep a folder of emails that people like just said nice things, or like Tara was so helpful today and things like that. So that's actually a really great way to combat imposter syndrome.
Yeah, definitely is. So that is all the questions from me. And
Okay.
it's just been so lovely just to like sort of talk to someone who is just sort of like just give you a voice, because I feel like you said, you know, I need to, the whole point of Inspiring Figures for me was to like give someone else a voice, because I feel like I always talk on my Instagram and like no one cares, like or like everyone's had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it says everyone has just said that my video has paused, has
Oh.
froze. Is that
Yeah,
the
it's
same
saying
for
that.
Echo?
It has, yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no. Hold on,
where'd
let me
you go?
just.
Okay. I'll take a sip of my smoothie.
Did that work at all?
I don't know.
Hold on.
Just turn it off and on again.
Wait,
I
is
want
that
I want.
Matt?
No, it's my brother.
Okay.
Because Matt right now is in Leeds, so he's not here. But hold on, can I? You know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna turn it off, and then I'm gonna do it again.
Okay.
Just because, yeah, I think that would work.
Sounds
Hold on,
good.
1 second. 1 second.
Oh. Oh, damn it.
No.
Oh, dang.
No.
I wonder how we're supposed to import this.
We're gonna make this work. I am so sorry, everyone.
I don't think they can hear you.
Oh my gosh, why does this keep happening?
I don't think
I'm
they
so
can hear you.
sorry.
I don't think they can hear you.
Hold on. Can they hear me at all?
I don't think they can.
No.
Like seriously, this is the first I've like had to do like 3 different ones. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just like, I don't know what happened. I was just listening to cloud computing and I was like, amazing. And then afterwards it just crashed. I think quick story for everyone. Like a couple of days ago, and then I dropped my phone because I thought it was a good idea for me to run to the gym, even though it's 5 minutes away from my house. I ran to the gym, I was holding my phone and I was like running, dropped my phone like face down, and now I have like this ugly crack on my phone, and now it's like ever since that day I need a new phone. But anyways, that's what happened. But yeah, thank you so much for that that question. I heard that does anyone else have any questions? Well, it is a like
Yes. Yeah.
anyone has any, I want to see her off so she can start her beautiful day. So if anyone has any more questions for Tara, please ask.
Yes.
Also, I'm going to, for those who aren't familiar, I usually write a article about our lives. So
Ooh.
since it's cut off a lot and out with loads of links and everything, so you can find out what we've spoken about. If you don't or watching us YouTube and SoundCloud, so you can listen that way.
Yay. Oh, I can see.
Everyone who had like just joined. I was just saying that like Tara, let us know.
Yes.
I'll give it a few more minutes
Okay.
and then we can go.
Yeah, I can drink this
Awesome.
smoothie that I have here.
Literally, I was just about to like drink some more water because like I've probably been talking for like 40 minutes, but like my water. We've got one more question. What do you think in interview basics are? What do you think in interview basics are important or not?
Ooh.
So
I'm gonna make a few assumptions here. I'm assuming they're talking about like kind of basic programming things. That would be my assumption. Very important, because that's the foundation that you're going to use to code everything. So I think the basics are really important. I think it's really good to spend time just like looking at data structures, manipulating data structures, and things like that. So put a lot of time into that, just because chances are if you get any technical questions, they're going to look more for a basic knowledge than some like theoretical, who knows kind of nonsense.
yeah, role. They didn't really ask. Did like, have you ever done like a very technical interview where you have to like, there's like a board and then you write down code? I've never done that. I've never done that yet. Like,
yeah.
Views was like, what's your experience with tech and what languages have you coded in, and like, can you show us some projects that you've done? I've never had to go up and like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah. It's so that program that helped me learn to code, they do a lot of other things, and right now I'm actually mentoring some people who went through the same program I did, and our next meetup that we have, they're actually going to be doing some practice for some live coding. So the advice that I gave them was to just like make it conversational, because a lot of times like they just kind of want to see how you work through problems when they're asking you those questions. So if you just kind of turn it into a conversation and like just bounce ideas off of them, I think for one, like it helps me kind of alleviate that nervousness, because as soon as anyone asks me a question, like all the things that I know are suddenly gone from my brain. Like they cease to exist immediately. So I try to like turn it into a conversation, and just like, I don't even use like technical language to talk about it. I'll be like, well, I'll compare this to this, because 9 out of 10 times I forgot the function that can accomplish that thing. So I'll just be like, well, I'll compare this to this. What do you think about this? So that's kind of how I do it. And it's actually helped. It alleviates so much stress.
I remember like, I haven't had that experience, board interviews or writing down code, but I've had interviews, and I found that when I turned a thing into a conversation, like the interview into a conversation, it just got a lot.
Yes.
One interview I did, I ended up talking about like meditation and yoga, just because like I was trying to explain the concept. This is what I do. So just to follow on to tips, so can you give us like 3 maybe, Tara?
The first interview tip is kind of like what I just talked about. Make it more into a conversation, just because like, especially as someone going into an interview, you don't really have anything to lose, but you kind of feel like you do. You feel like you could lose this job even though technically you don't already have the job. So just make it more into a conversation, because that takes a lot of pressure off of you, and then you feel less like you have to, because I find for myself, when someone's like kind of asking me a question, especially in an interview, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to answer it. So sometimes I'll miss half of the question because I'm so in my head thinking about how I'm going to answer it. So turning it into a conversation is helpful. The second one is more just kind of like a thing that I think everyone should do, is before you answer a question, like just take a deep breath. Just like take a moment, breathe, let it out, and then like that will first like kind of help calm you down, and second, allow you time to gather your thoughts. Because I also feel like I need to immediately answer the question, which isn't true. Like you can take a few seconds. And then my third tip is like, honestly, just be yourself. Like, because if a company doesn't want you for who you are, it's probably not a company you wanted to work for in the first place. And I think, that's a little bit of kind of like privileged advice, but it is also like, you shouldn't have to work for a company where you have to like perform constantly and not be yourself.
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna.
Okay.
So as a full, you lean more to one side, because this on the front end?
Yeah. Yes. So when I first started, I actually liked both front and back end for just kind of like different reasons. Like the front end allowed me to be a little bit more creative. The back end allowed me to kind of like test my puzzle and logic kind of solving capabilities. But the more time I spend doing CSS, the more I'm just like, put me on the back end. I never want to touch CSS again. Like I genuinely like I can do CSS. I have no problem doing CSS, but it's just like if I'm doing it for more than like 3 or 4 hours, I'm so ready to move on. So I find myself like leaning towards back end, or even just like even on the front end, just more JavaScript-y kind of things. Because see, like I feel like with programming languages, like it's like logical, like it makes sense, you can follow it. But with like CSS, there's something that just goes on where my brain just doesn't understand what's happening sometimes. I'm just like, why does this inline block display differently than like just a regular block? Like what? Like why? I'm sure there's documentation on why, but my brain just doesn't understand.
Oh my gosh, you know, hackathons, and whenever I is there about CSS, everyone says the same thing. They're just like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like something you learn, and it's important to learn and stuff, and you can do it. It's just, sometimes it's not logical. I understand what you mean.
Yes, like it just I don't get, like, there's definitely things that like I'm more comfortable with and can do pretty easily, but still sometimes like I'll just change one small CSS property and it will completely change everything, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, then you go back, try it again, and just everything explodes. And it's like, what?
yes, exactly. Like I still get stuck on like sometimes I don't know what it is, but like if I want to change something when maybe like a user interacts with something, like the specificity that you need for CSS sometimes it's so tedious where my brain is just like, help me, SOS, somebody save me. I actually did that yesterday. Oh man.
Really?
Yeah.
Definitely you do sway to.
Yes. Yeah. Like if I can build out HTML and like basic kind of like CSS, but like once I get like past the 4-hour mark, I'm like, all right, we need something new here. Yep.
Oh, it's horrible. Today, honestly, I'm like technical difficulties.
No worries.
I'll figure that out when I like my so he'll figure it out. So could you quickly remind people where they can follow? Thank
you. Right now the only place they can find me is at Teravox on Instagram, but I'll have updates soon, and then I will do some shameless self-promo when I have all of that information set up.
I'm so excited. I'm going to be your first follower and first fan, or whatever it is you're going to do. I'll be the first one. Thank you so much, Tara. And I hope, like, honestly, you've inspired, it's not just me, but you've inspired a lot of people who have like tuned in today. So thank you so much, and just keep doing what you're doing. And we'll hopefully just talk to you soon.
Yes,
thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
And we'll put this all in post-production so you. Thank you, everyone. Bye, Tara. Have a lovely day.
You too. I guess the end of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.